Carton will be back on Monday. Enjoy your weekend, and we get ready for the new year next week.
I'm just saying, if I were a good NFL head coach, if I were a hot offensive coordinator, and that coaching cycle's going to come around, and they're like, hey, do you want the Giants job? Or do you want the Michigan job? I think the Michigan job is much better.
Game time decisions. Only on SportsGrid.
They're doing a new show about a Japanese interpreter.
Oh, they are?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, they're doing like I don't know if it's a documentary or like actors are in it.
It's got to.
I think it's a drama.
It's a real show.
It's like a scripted show.
Yeah.
About a Japanese interpreter.
Yes.
I wonder who's getting paid for that.
The Craig Carton Show. Only on SportsGrid.
You ain't buying no tickets.
Who isn't?
You're not going to
Say
these
if I'm a
games.
fan. Of course I'm not. There's a fan. What's wrong with you?
Yeah, but if you were a fan, I thought you were a fan of the Hurricanes. You're not anymore.
They told me.
They smashed
I told them to donate my tickets.
Yeah, so I get it. But the fans travel. They have money, believe it or not. It's
They
amazing.
don't.
Well, somebody's got money.
In this economy,
But they have money. I don't know. See what Kelsey says about the economy.
SportsGrid's College Football Today.
Look, the trend continues to go to Blake Corum. He's still available. I can't believe he's still available. So if you have Kyron Williams, you got to have Blake Corum on your roster. And if you don't have Kyron Williams, I think you still want Blake Corum on your roster. You got to have these insurance policies on your roster at the very least. Even in a shallow league, if Blake Corum's floating out there, don't let him float out there. The last thing you want to have happen is for him to end up on some other team and then taking you the next couple weeks to win a championship.
Fantasy Sports Today. Only on Sport.
GameTime Decisions live with you on SportsGrid the day after Christmas, and we have a couple of gifts for you tonight. The Rate Bowl is on, the First Responders Bowl still to come, and a full NBA card for us to dive into. Kevin Walsh with you here from the Decisions desk, and I will not be alone tonight as we've got a great group who will help us break this whole thing down. Perhaps the most intriguing game on this NBA slate is the Miami Heat and the Atlanta Hawks with a total that is 250.5. Coach James Young, of course, host of both pro and college basketball today, right here on SportsGrid, will be joining us during our show tonight. We will get some action from JY. No real college basketball. Things will pick back up once we turn the calendar to 2026. If you're looking for college action, as we said, you're probably going to be looking in the bowl game bin. And it is right now a 7-6 lead for Minnesota over New Mexico as the first half is approaching a close right now. You do have a little bit of trickery there, but it's probably going to be a whole bunch of nothing, and it'll go to half at that 7-6 score in the Rate Bowl. I did play Minnesota in this game. They trailed 6-0 before that touchdown. They've worked it back up. We've got the First Responders Bowl still to come, and this is really an appetizer for the first full Monster Bowl slate that you have tomorrow. That slate is highlighted by the Pop-Tarts Bowl between BYU and Georgia Tech, a couple of ranked teams, but a few ranked teams in action. Houston and LSU, Virginia, Missouri, North Texas, San Diego State, and you've got Clemson, Penn State. So we will get some insight on these bowl games from both Coach Terry Bowden, great to get his thoughts, as well as Joe Lisi, who will join us one half of college football today here on SportsGrid. We will also be going through the Michigan decision to hire Kyle Whittingham, the former head coach at Utah, and this is a fascinating move, really. I can't say I hate it, but I can't say I love it. When Kyle Whittingham stepped away from Utah, the initial reaction we saw from many people in the college football space was, what a career for Whittingham. Probably was the right time for him to hang it up. Kyle Whittingham is now at Michigan. At the age of 66, I understand that's fine. They signed a 5-year deal. Is Kyle Whittingham really going to be with Michigan for the length of that deal? I don't know, right? I know they were scrambling, and a pedigree head coach had come available. And the nature of the portal probably pushed their hand. It is fascinating, though, man. When we think about just how big any specific college job is, LSU was able to get Lane Kiffin to step away from a college football playoff team who nearly made the SEC title game, has now advanced to the college football playoff quarterfinals, right, in a game they'll play against Georgia. When you look around right now with both Michigan and Penn State, I mean, they couldn't get the Arizona State coach to come out. They couldn't get the BYU coach to leave their job. I mean, it's just very odd, I feel, when we watch this whole thing play out and try and really understand what happened here with Michigan not being able to make some of the splashier hires that they thought they were going to be able to make. We'll talk more about that throughout our show. We will also, of course, look back towards yesterday, as we did have the NFL's largest Christmas slate, a 3-pack of games, where all 3 underdogs get the cover. And there was much made about, would we see these favorites win and win easily? And that really wasn't the case in any of these games. Dallas wins 30-23, probably the most dominant of the bunch. Detroit loses outright and ends their season. And we are right now at the peak of, oh my gosh, the Lions let Ben Johnson go and are stuck with Dan Campbell discourse. It's a complex one, but it's not unfair to be having. Ben Johnson, Chicago Bears are set up to win the NFC North. The Detroit Lions went from 15 wins to out of the playoffs. And that's a nightmarish fall, no doubt about it. Late night, you had the other 15-win team from last year that's out of the playoffs, which is the Kansas City Chiefs, give Denver a little bit of scare. For the Broncos, the AFC West was always going to come down to Week 18 at best for the Chargers, right? But Denver's chances to be the number 1 seed required this victory. And I think this is really set up for such a fun NFL Saturday and Sunday. When you take a look for the Chargers, if they are able to win that football game, the Broncos are going to find themselves in a situation where if they beat the Chargers in Week 18, they're the number 1 seed. And if they lose, they're a wild card team. We saw that exact situation play out last year with the Vikings and the Lions. And my goodness, we very well could see that same thing play out in the NFC this year. If we end up with the Week 18 matchup between the Niners and the Seahawks, which, by the way, will not only mean one of those teams will lose that game and go from a potential 1 seed to wild card team, the Super Bowl favorites and the Los Angeles Rams will be a wild card team. It is remarkable that lead and how it sat at one point and the absolute fall that we saw for the Los Angeles Rams. They weren't even going to play wild card weekend. And they are now, I think, pretty decent favorites to end up a wild card team. It is a fascinating one, no doubt. We will look through some of the favorite Week 17 spots. We will talk to Mike Blewett. We will talk to Brady Cannon as well. Talk about, I think, what we saw on Thursday, people betting into these teams who need the game. People are going to line up on Pittsburgh to beat Cleveland, right? People are going to line up on Jacksonville, Tampa, Seattle. even the Chargers maybe, right? The notion of needing the football game has always been one that people play, and it plays out sometimes, right? But Detroit needed that game against Minnesota. Nobody needed the victory of the three favorites more than Detroit did. Broncos still would have had a great chance to win their division. Dallas was out of the game, was out of the postseason. The team who needed it the most lost it. It's an interesting one. The best game that you probably are going to get this weekend is the Eagles and the Cowboys. And Eagles and the Bills, my apologies there. And it's interesting because does either team need the game? Well, in order for them to need it, they need help. If they get it, it becomes interesting. Buffalo's hoping there's a chance they could still win the AFC East. Very unlikely. Philly wouldn't mind getting up to the 2 seed. Again, not the likeliest, but maybe. Maybe. Are these teams potentially, in both Philly, the defending champs, and Buffalo, soon to be very, very popular pick, are we going to end up with this being their final showing before we're breaking their games down come Wild Card Weekend? Well, we're going to get some more insight at the minimum on the Philadelphia side. Andrew DeCecco is set to join us and get the latest around a Philadelphia Eagles team who obviously have had a very loud and busy year, but have maybe found their level a little bit, and the latest around some key players to watch, the trip to the dentist for A.J. Brown, and when we can expect Lane Johnson back. That's next, and it's right here on SportsGrid.
Let's play a little game of buy or sell. In case you missed it, probably not because you're watching this show, Patrick Mahomes injured himself last week. This just in. Gonna miss a lot of time. That could include some of next year. Mahomes says he will be ready. He's already had the surgery. So let's make the assumption, George, for the time being, that he does play week 1 of next season. I think that's optimistic, but it's Mahomes. He wants to play. Let's see. Buy or sell. Dynasty Mahomes owners should look to trade Mahomes right now. Buy or sell.
There's nobody on your fantasy team that you shouldn't be looking to trade, right? I'll trade anybody if the right offer's made here. When I say you should be looking to trade, depends on how you read that. I mean, looking to trade, I think it's just the wrong time to do it. All right, I just don't think you're gonna get value. You're not gonna get even value, equal value here, unless there's a specific player you're trading and you're strong at quarterback and you think it's worth it. Fine. Do I think you should look to trade him? No, I'll sell this. So I think you could trade him, sure, but anybody can be traded depending on the offer here. So I'm gonna sell this now. Wrong time to try and trade him.
I am going to buy this. I look, until the Chiefs get him a Jamar Chase, a Justin Jefferson, a Jackson Smith and Jigba. Nothing against Rice and nothing against Worthy. Even with Tom Brady in the 17 eras that he had in New England, they always were getting this guy help. At running back, they got Corey Dillon one year. At receiver, they got Randy Moss one year. I know it didn't work out. It did for a short period of time with Antonio Brown. The Chiefs have to go out and get a mega star for Mahomes to play with for the next 5 years, because this could be the end for Mahomes the next few years. Until I see the Chiefs make some sort of free agent commitment to the skill position, stop with these, Pacheco running backs. I mean, get the guy some help already, and Kelsey probably at the end too.
Fantasy Sports Today. Friday, starting at 3 p.m. Only on SportsGrid.
As we get settled in here on Game Time Decisions, halftime of the Rate Bowl right now, Minnesota and New Mexico. Still about 45 minutes away from tip-off from tonight's NBA slate. I want to take our first look towards the weekend with what could very well be the best game between the Buffalo Bills and the Philadelphia Eagles. To help us do that is Andrew DeCecco. We've talked to him a few times here around this Eagles team. You can catch his work over at InsideTheBirds.com. And Andrew, I appreciate you making the time before what's such an interesting game for Philadelphia, and they're such an interesting football team. But right now, they've won 2 games in a row where I am sure people would, hand wave it. Hey, Vegas and Washington, who cares? I think the Eagles should feel really good about those wins. And maybe more importantly, Andrew, my sense is they do feel really good about those wins. What is your sense around this Eagles team right now?
Yeah, you bring up an interesting point, Kevin, because you can look at those games against the Raiders and the Commanders and say it's just those teams. But the Eagles are viewed among the NFL's elite, and rightfully so. So when you're playing those type of teams, you want to see how they win. You would feel a lot differently if they won those games 23-20, but they beat them convincingly, allowing only 75 total yards to the Raiders and then showcasing some perseverance against the Commanders, where there was a point in that game where the tides could have shifted. And I think that kind of tests your mettle, if you will, where you are as a football team. So there are tangible things that they can take away from that. And I have to tell you, the vibes around this team are high, and they have a lot to play for right now. They know how good they can be as a football team. They're going to continue to lean into that and abide by the messaging from head coach Nick Sirianni. So
the guy who I think has made the Eagles and vibes synonymous recently is A.J. Brown, who I don't know if things are going so well. He made a dentist appointment and figured nobody will care. I don't know if he made it a while back thinking it would be because if anybody wants to know that the Eagles' vibes are going well, the A.J. Brown getting his wisdom teeth pulled out didn't make it to the mainstream shows. They didn't care enough. It would have led every single one of them, Andrew, if the Eagles had lost either one of those football games, right? I don't know, is the A.J. thing much to do about nothing? I almost feel silly asking, but honestly, who gets their wisdom teeth pulled out in the middle of the NFL season?
Yeah, I think that's much ado about nothing. Now, that dental procedure, we don't know if that was something that was really affecting him to the point where you can't prolong that. You don't want to wait for the offseason to address it for whatever reason. Who knows? But what I can tell you, Kevin, in terms of the vibes, I would say the real driving force for that has been Jordan Davis, the Eagles defensive tackle.
Really?
He's been a tremendous locker room presence, always in a good mood, always jovial, always building up those around him, and just radiates positivity. And I think that he, in many ways, exudes leadership, and it wouldn't surprise me if he continues to take on a much more prominent role as a locker room figure. You can't have a bad day when you're around Jordan Davis, and I think that based off everything we've seen this season, that really patterns after that.
And I think for Philadelphia, we know how great the defense was last year. They were off to a bit of a slower start. There was so much turnover. But you look at this group right now, and it's hard not to feel great about them. They do have a tall task, certainly, though, playing this Buffalo offense that is one of, if not the best, rush offenses in the league. And the last time the Eagles played what felt like a super elite rush offense, we'll remember Black Friday against the Chicago Bears. Do you think that is that the main thing to watch for in this game, how Philly's defense is able to handle this rush attack?
Yeah, I think so, because you mentioned the Bears game, but you have to look at James Cook. He leads the NFL in rushing. They also have the +1 with Josh Allen, who has 552 rushing yards and 12 touchdowns. Now, I look at it and zoom in on that aspect because when this Eagles defense has had their sticking points, if you will, it's been when they've struggled against quarterbacks who are mobile and can pick up yards with their legs. I was hoping to see how they would fare against Marcus Mariota, but of course he didn't finish the game. So I'm keying in on what they're able to do against Josh Allen and what I'm viewing as a big measuring stick, a barometer type of game heading into the postseason.
So one of the interesting elements of this game for Philly is a win will certainly keep their hopes through the number 2 seed alive. However, that could be all for naught. They don't control their destiny to get that 2 seed, and a Week 18 bye could be very enticing for this team here. How do you think the balance is right now for Philly? I'm not saying they want to lose to Buffalo, obviously, but the balance of wanting the number 2 seed, but again, knowing they don't control their destiny for that slot.
Yeah, knowing this team, they're going to do whatever they can until there's 0% chance that they can do that. They're going to go out there and try to put their best foot forward and seize that 2 seed. They had that last season, and it worked out pretty well for them. So I don't view it through the lens of them resting players. Week 18 is a different conversation, but right now they're going to go full steam ahead and try to take this team out. And then you can't control, you can't worry about variables that are outside of your control. So I think it would work out best for the Eagles if the Bears are able to take care of the 49ers, because that might be the most favorable outcome if you look towards the future here and how that could play out. And the 49ers are playing good football right now. I was a little down on them because of their easy schedule, and it seems like they're starting to heat up at the right time.
Andrew, I'm going to ask you maybe a little outside of this season stuff, but the Max Crosby story that has been breaking throughout the day, where he was desperate to play because that's who he is and it's what he's about, and the Raiders had to forcibly shut him down for the rest of the season. And look, clearly the guy's not 100%, but he's good enough to play. The Raiders are tanking. They have a big game against the Giants this Sunday. But Jay Glazer kind of said, this is going to lead to some questions in Vegas. I don't know. Maybe it's too early. Maybe you'll get the sense throughout a couple of weeks. Maybe everybody's focused on the playoffs. But Max Crosby, who, by the way, during that game where they were dominated, could not help but speak glowingly about the link. Do you start to think we hear some connections with Howie Roseman wanting to target Max Crosby?
Well, it's certainly possible. Make no mistake about it, Kevin. Howie Roseman will leave no stone unturned. It's a tumultuous type of relationship with Max Crosby and the Raiders, and it seemed like things were coming to a head. But look, the Eagles will have to wait and see, because Jalen Phillips, who they acquired, of course, at the trade deadline, is going to be a free agent. So they may need to fill that void. So that would be potentially a logical replacement if they're not able to retain Jalen Phillips.
Yeah, certainly something to watch for. And that Raiders-Giants game, you could make an argument is actually the biggest game that's going to take place week 17. Andrew, we really, really appreciate it. Best of luck throughout the rest of this holiday season.
Appreciate it. Take care, guys.
All right, great stuff there. We're going to talk a little bit more about that Raiders-Giants games and the opportunity to select first overall after the break right here on SportsGrid.
Let's play a little game of buy or sell. In case you missed it, probably not because you're watching this show, Patrick Mahomes injured himself last week. This just in. Going to miss a lot of time. That could include some of next year. Mahomes says he will be ready. He's already had the surgery. So let's make the assumption, George, for the time being, that he does play week 1 of next season. I think that's optimistic, but it's Mahomes. He wants to play. Let's see. Buy or sell. Dynasty Mahomes owners should look to trade Mahomes right now. Buy or sell.
There's nobody on your fantasy team that you shouldn't be looking to trade, right? I'll trade anybody if the right offer's made here. When I say you should be looking to trade, depends on how you read that. I mean, looking to trade, I think it's just the wrong time to do it. All right, I just don't think you're gonna get value. You're not gonna get even value, equal value here, unless there's a specific player you're trading and you're strong at quarterback and you think it's worth it. Fine. Do I think you should look to trade him? No, I'll sell this. So I think you could trade him, sure, but anybody can be traded depending on the offer here. So I'm gonna sell this. No, wrong time to try and trade him.
I am going to buy this. I look, until the Chiefs get him a Jamar Chase, a Justin Jefferson, a Jackson Smith and Jigba. Nothing against Rice and nothing against Worthy. Even with Tom Brady in the 17 eras that he had in New England, they always were getting this guy help. At running back, they got Corey Dillon one year. At receiver, they got Randy Moss one year. I know it didn't work out. It did for a short period of time with Antonio Brown. The Chiefs have to go out and get a mega star for Mahomes to play with for the next 5 years, because this could be the end for Mahomes the next few years. Until I see the Chiefs make some sort of free agent commitment to the skill position, stop with these, Pacheco running backs. I mean, get the guy some help already, and Kelsey probably at the end too.
Fantasy Sports Today. Friday, starting at 3 p.m. Only on SportsGrid.
Game Time Decisions. We're live here on SportsGrid. And this Sunday, the Raiders and Giants play as the lone 2-win teams in the National Football League. Now, the very interesting thing for the Giants and Raiders, sneaky. They both might be booked as favorites in Week 18. The Giants at home are against Dallas. I think it's super on the board Milton plays at quarterback in that game for Dallas. Doesn't mean he's not capable of winning. That's kind of what I think. I think it's very on the board, right? I don't know if Dak is chasing much of anything, right? He's not MVP. We know all of that stuff there. Maybe there's some incentives, maybe. But that's kind of how I see it. The Raiders are at home against the Chiefs. I mean, Chris Oladuncan, my goodness. If people are under the idea that Chiefs team should be impressed with anything that happened yesterday, they're insane. They showed up. They had fight. I played in plus 13.5. Sure, one of the few winners I felt like I found on that slate. Kansas City going into Vegas, especially if Geno's starting, I don't think they're booked as favorites. So, to me, this game isn't decidedly the end-all, be-all, but I think it's fair to say the winner is done as far as having the first overall pick. If you look right now, there is a bit of a gap here on Kalshi to make the first overall pick. But of course, the complicated part of this is that it says make. Vegas is the favorite at 51% right now, and I think the reasoning for that gap is if the Giants end up with that number one pick, the likeliness that they traded away. And the Giants are the likeliest traded away candidate there is because it's not just the Jackson Dart stuff. The guys who are hyped right now outside of the quarterback spot are edge rushers. Ruben Bain and Arvell Reese. There's no way the Giants are stepping up to the podium and again taking an edge rusher. There's no way. Kayvon Thibodeau, okay, I feel he's not a bust, he's not a hit. Abdul Carter was can't miss. I don't really know what's going on. I think he's still really good. I think all the numbers will bear that out. It's been a weird year. The reality, though, is just simply the Giants aren't doing that. You could probably make the case then to just bet the no on the Giants, and I think that's a really interesting one. However, I would assume the best time to do that is if the Raiders beat the Giants. And all of a sudden the Giants now have this clean runway to owning the first pick, but never actually making that move. And I think that that's a very interesting outlook here, right? For Vegas, here comes the really interesting thing, right? If the Giants end up with the number one pick, who are the likeliest teams to come up and get it? Vegas is a part of that. The Browns are a part of that. So are the Jets. You'll notice, though, especially if you look on the most up-to-date versions of these markets, a recent climber is the Los Angeles Rams. And one reason the Rams make sense is they never project to be in this range and only are because they got the Falcons pick. Matthew Stafford is likely to win MVP this year. But Stafford playing next year, I don't think is a 100% guarantee. And Stafford playing the year after that feels like it's under 50%. And in all seriousness, I mean, I'll tell you this right now. If the Rams are in the Super Bowl, Kalshi will have is Stafford going to retire in the postgame market? That's just going to be a thing if they play in the Super Bowl. It really is. So if the Giants are up there, and usually, right, when the team trading back, they don't want to trade away from all the blue chippers, but we just said it. Reese, Bain, right? The Giants are like, yeah, whatever, we'll go back to 8. We don't care. That's fine. We'll take Peter Woods, Jordan Tyson, Mainzer Delaney. It's all good. Makai Lemon, we're good. Something just to keep your mind on before the toilet bowl between the Raiders and Giants. Let's get Coach James Young in here, break down tonight's NBA card. On the other side of this commercial break, we're live on SportsGrid.
Chicago Blackhawks of the National Hockey League are now official partners with Kalshi. It takes effect this week. Each side can use the other's intellectual property for co-marketing purposes, and Kalshi will be promoted during home games at the United Center and on Blackhawks broadcasts. First of its kind, certainly probably not the last as well.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
When did we become, so bitter that we can't accept another man's apology? We make mistakes all the time. And as a grown man, you have to say, I'm sorry every once in a while. And it's okay to say that. And the apology, I think, should be accepted. And in this case, I'm accepting it.
The Craig Carton Show, only on SportsGrid.
When you look at this NBA Cup, you have to think about the importance. As a coach, I find a lot of importance. This wasn't a gimmick win. The Knicks earned it the hard way. And it matters in April as Mike Brown continues to build that culture in New York. And now, in my opinion, the Knicks are legit contenders to win the NBA title.
Pro basketball today, only on SportsGrid.
Arvil Reese at 8%. I got to tell you right now, I have no idea who that is if they're playing a Joe Coleman show.
Yeah, that's going to be interesting.
Who is that?
Here, but I have no idea.
Do you even know?
But no idea. But don't you have to pick the Heisman winner, Donnie? Isn't that like the rule of thumb if you're going to take a quarterback? Is he not the best quarterback?
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Game Time Decisions live on a Friday night. Little extended version here on the heels of Christmas Day. Let's try and get the people a couple of late presents here. Best bets for myself and the crew tonight. I'm going to play Tyrese Maxey over 39.5 points, rebounds, and assists at even money. This is just a big-time Maxey spot here. He should be fully healthy. I know he missed a little bit of time with injury. Slow getting back. Had 13 points in his most recent outing against the Bulls. That's an up-and-down game. I think Maxey is closer to 50 than he is to going under this number. I feel really good about Tyrese. Another even money shot here. That's going to be Devin McEwen's anytime touchdown from Chris. He's backing UTSA in that matchup with FIU in the First Responders Bowl. I did lay the 6.5, by the way, in that football game with the Roadrunners. And then Yarnelli is going to get on Sarr over the 8.5 bounds for the Wizards as they are at home against the Toronto Raptors. To keep the NBA conversation going, of course, it is our guy, Coach James Young, host of Pro Basketball Today here on SportsGrid. JY, it is great to see you. Yesterday, let's be honest, a great day for the NBA. They had a good product, and the NFL had whatever they had. What was your biggest takeaway from the NBA Christmas slate?
That J.J. Redick is not an announcer or a guy talking behind the scenes at ESPN. He's a head coach. And there was a video that came out, I think earlier today, that showed J.J. Redick going after, I think it was Doc Rivers, about the same thing 2 years ago, basically throwing your players under the bus. You have a 41-year-old or 40-year-old LeBron James. You have Luka Doncic. You have Rui Hachimura. You got Marcus Smart. You have veterans up and down the roster. Going after them on post-game press conferences is lame, it's stupid, and it's a way to lose your locker room. I got this amazing thing I learned a long time ago. You ready? Players win them, coaches lose them. So when you don't come out ready to play, stop looking at the whatever the index finger and look at the thumb. Look at yourself as a coach. What are you doing to not have your team ready to play? Because they were not ready to play last night with Houston. And really quick, two other things really quick. Number two, Wemby don't like the Thunder. He does not like Chet Holmgren. I mean, that is odd. You saw him. He almost got like a celebration for his, celebrating a missing free throw. By the way, another one. Shout out to Anthony Edwards. Should not have been thrown out last night. But what a performance by those two. And lastly is the Knicks, what they're doing right now is such an indictment on Tibbs and Tibbs' ability to not use his roster. You think Tyler Kolek's coming in the game in the fourth quarter of that game? No. You think Jordan Clarkson is playing big minutes down the stretch? Nope. They would have played 4-on-5 with Tibbs. Put some respect on Mike Brown's name, and we need to talk a little bit more about how bad Tibbs was at times in New York.
Yeah, look, JY, I think there's a lot of good stuff there, and, if we had more time, we could do the whole, you know what I mean? It was a great slate. I think you hit on something that now once again feels like maybe the main thing I'll be looking for in the NBA, which is LeBron actually going to be on the Los Angeles Lakers past the trade deadline? Because I think J.J. Redick somewhat may be talking about LeBron, and I think this stuff has never been fully resolved, and you want to take it to the top? Everyone told me that the Cleveland Cavaliers would never have a need to make that deal. No team in the league needs to shake that snow globe more than Cleveland right now, and it just feels very on the board that LeBron is actually a Cav. Because here's the other thing that feels on the board, and I don't want to get lost. I promise we're going to get you coaches' picks tonight, but this is obviously really important. I think it is still on the board. This is LeBron's last season. I know everybody's positive about the retirement tour stuff, but I'm not as positive as everybody. I mean, LeBron James, last year on Christmas Day, right, looks into the camera and goes, NFL, this is our day. This year goes into Christmas and like, yeah, I really wish I was on the couch. Be sick if we weren't playing. It's just a different vibe. And I think it's just something to keep an eye on. We'll get into it more another time. Let's get to some of these games here tonight. JY, I don't know if you're involved with Orlando and Charlotte. I'm playing Nipple, though, over 7.5 rebounds plus assists. Nice little double bounce back spot in either category. I think he actually has a chance to clean this on rebounds alone. We've talked about it. He's just been special as a rookie. He's going to give Coop a run for his money in that Rookie of the Year race. I'm on Nipple. Anything for you in this game or the earlier 7 o'clock, 7:30 tips?
No, there's nothing right there for me. But when you look at those rebounds plus assists for Knipple, he didn't miss the last 2, but Kevin's right. 7 of the previous 8 games, he went over this number. And with the surrounding cast of Ball, Bridges, others, I think there's more for him to get involved. And you're right. That race is on. But Knipple and Cooper Flag have really stepped it up in the last month.
I know you are looking towards the night slate, JY. Just for me, by the way, one more prop. I'm on Trae Young over 2.5 made threes. There's some wild Trae Young splits. He's due to eventually get rolling behind the arc of 250.5 total. Why not? You're looking, though, for Detroit, Utah to potentially have some value?
Yeah, I'm looking at Jaden Ivey over 7.5 points. If you look at Jaden Ivey, over 6 of his last 7 games. Utah's 27th at defending shooting guard. Should be extended playing time for that team, and they've had a 62% hit rate. I'm going to take Detroit minus the points, and I'm going to take Jaden Ivey over 7.5 points tonight.
By the way, as far as the Detroit Pistons go, it's crazy, really. They have one fewer loss now than the Thunder. You guys know I invested in a whole bunch of Thunder win a million games things. This last 5-game window has been a nightmare for that. First of all, the don't lose back-to-back games thing, we didn't make it out of 2025. And they lost to the same dang team, which I never saw coming in a million years. That, by the way, has shattered Dagnall in the Coach of the Year race. I'm surprised he hasn't dropped further. Because now the Pistons have this incredible season, and all of a sudden Mitch Johnson owns Mark Dagnall. That's not great. And here's the other thing I'll add. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is not holding off Nikola Jokic unless they win 70-plus games. There's no chance. Nikola Jokic just went for 50, 15, 15 last night. I understand it was in overtime. I don't care. It's nuts. There's just and Jokic is down to plus 115. You could argue there's not great value really on either guy. But you're just not holding off the season Jokic is having, being the Thunder and going for 67 wins. Let's call it what it is. That's a disappointing season based on what those expectations were, JY, in Oklahoma City.
Yeah, and I think also the fact that now that Cam Johnson's out, Aaron Gordon's missing time, there's more that's got to be on Nikola Jokic's plate. So as he starts to ramp up what he's going to do, and then the after work and the other guys in Oklahoma City, there's more dudes around SGA that can score and do things. They're going to be so reliant on the Joker right now that that's going to be heavy. I would say this. I think he's gone past him. I think you can make a case that once a year goes up, depending on what happens in the East. I think Brunson and or Cade can go past SJ unless you go on a crazy long streak for the Thunder, because there's going to be people going another direction after him winning last year.
JY, late night, the Blazers and the Clippers. A part of me wanted to play Portland on the number, just home dog. I thought it was a tempting shot. I'm going to respect the Clippers maybe turning this around. I wonder if Ty Lue, Harden, and Kawhi care enough to get this team. Again, they're not going to salvage the season. They're going to miss the playoffs. It's going to be but the wins against the Lakers and Rockets certainly showed me something. So I stayed away from this one. What do you like here?
No, I would lay the points with the Clippers. I'll go Kawhi over 6.5 rebounds, something different, over 4 last 5. But no Derek Jones, no Ivica Zubac. And they are 30th, the Trailblazers, at reboundings allowed and rebounds to small forwards and offensive rebounds. So anyway you slice through the dice, Kawhi's going to carry that team. Look over 6.5 rebounds for the Claw tonight.
By the way, just because, we were talking about some of this stuff, Nikola Jokic's offensive rating yesterday was 171 in that game. I don't even understand how that's possible. I don't know. I know Gobert's not in his prime anymore, but golly. JY, great stuff as always. Coach to coach. Coach Bowden up next on Sports Grid.
The Chicago Blackhawks of the National Hockey League are now official partners with Kalshi. It takes effect this week. Each side can use the other's intellectual property for co-marketing purposes, and Kalshi will be promoted during home games at the United Center and on Blackhawks broadcasts. First of its kind, certainly probably not the last as well.
Newswire, only on Sports Grid.
When did we become, so bitter that we can't accept another man's apology? We make mistakes all the time. And as a grown man, you have to say, I'm sorry every once in a while. And it's okay to say that. And the apology, I think, should be accepted. And in this case, I'm accepting it.
The Craig Carden Show, only on Sports Grid.
When you look at this NBA Cup, you have to think about the importance. As a coach, I find a lot of importance. This wasn't a gimmick win. The Knicks earned it the hard way. And it matters in April as Mike Brown continues to build that culture in New York. And now, in my opinion, the Knicks are legit contenders to win the NBA title.
Pro basketball today, only on Sports Grid.
Arvel Reese at 8%. I got to tell you right now, I have no idea who that is if they're playing a Joe Coleman show.
Yeah, that's going to be interesting
Who is that?
here, but I have no idea.
Do you even know?
But no idea. But don't you have to pick the Heisman winner, Don? Isn't that like the rule of thumb if you're going to take a quarterback? Is he not the best quarterback?
The Early Line, only on Sports Grid.
GameTime decisions here on Sports Grid, and I got to tell you, Thanksgiving gets the reputation as the food holiday, but I've now talked food with 2 of our 3 guests before we even got going here. Christmas certainly makes the case. It's legendary head coach Terry Bowden. Coach, a Merry Christmas to you. We appreciate you making some time.
Merry Christmas, and to an old coach and the son of a coach, Christmas was always about eating at Denny's. We were in a hotel. Every Christmas growing up, I was in a hotel, and no restaurants were open except Denny's. So Christmas reminds me of eating at Denny's.
Well, listen, hey, we'll let a shout out to
Nothing wrong
Denny's.
with that.
We'll stick, though, kind of with the coaching aspect here because there's huge news that Kyle Whittingham is going to get this job at Michigan. And Coach, I'm really torn on this one. I'm hoping you can help me out here because I think Kyle Whittingham's earned a lot of respect for what he did at Utah. But when he stepped away, people were like, man, great career, retirement sounds right, and now he's the Michigan coach. And I don't know how you really sell that when you're supposed to be Michigan football. I mean, they're going to try and say be happy about it. Should they be happy about it in Ann Arbor?
Well, I know Kyle. I think he's a great coach, and I think he's going to end up being the right guy for the job. I don't know exactly how that happened. Did he know anything as he was retiring? Have they talked to him quietly, or people have been talking? Because they need some continuity. They need somebody with some character, somebody that has shown over time that they can coach with class and run a program with class. I don't know how long he's going to coach because of his age. Now, you got to remember, my father won 2 national championships in his 60s, 63 and 69. That's older than he is already. So you can still win championships at that level. But it was a little bit unusual. But after they hired him, and if you know him and you know the character that he has and the way he has run his program and the success that he has had at Utah, makes me think he would be a good person to go there and run a program the way they want to get their program back on board right now.
So let's then stay in the Big Ten, and we're going to go to tomorrow's games here, Coach, where if I would have said, hey, late December, Clemson, Penn State, you would have thought we were breaking down a college football playoff game. And instead, it's the Pinstripe Bowl, which is, the Pinstripe Bowl must be excited, over the moon, quite frankly, that they got these two programs somehow playing at Yankee Stadium. The interesting thing, though, Coach, is this isn't just any bowl game, right, where we see big programs. Will either one of these teams get up for this game? Will they both get up for this game? There's a lot psychologically, I wonder, here.
Oh, this is a huge game for Dabo. Dabo has a chance to win 8. He's had a chance to carry his team on an upswing, been to a bowl every year. Everything he does is about where am I going to go next year. Players at Penn State, I'm not sure. Penn State's got a whole new staff. They've got some people staying, some people already gone. You've got 7 players on offense, 7 players on defense at Clemson that are gone. Okay, but the staff that's there, it's a big game for them. And the players that are there, it's big for them. So what I've looked at, the staff is Clemson is consistent. Klubnik stayed at quarterback. Their 2 receivers and running back stayed. They lost a ton of players all around that. Penn State didn't lose players, but they lost a lot of that preparation that comes from having a staff and the continuity. Matt Campbell can't really do much as of yet. So I really like the explosiveness of the guys that stayed at Clemson in this football game, and how much this game does mean to Dabo Swinney. It means a lot.
Let's stay inside the baseball stadiums, Army and UConn. People talk about the trickiness of trying to get ready for these service academies here. You know, a bowl game, it's a one-off. I feel like it must take a lot of dedication and preparation to really get ready to play, a triple option offense. But UConn has had a lot of time, but they've also had some turnover, right, when it comes to the coaching perspective here.
Yeah.
Any early expectations from you in the Fenway Bowl?
Yeah, I'm leaning towards Army because of that, the disruption in the staff and the inability to prepare. The last 2 years I was at ULM, I played Army. We opened up with them and beat them 15-14 because I had the entire offseason. During the midseason, the year before we played midseason, lost by 25 because we couldn't prepare. And I don't think that's the way Connecticut's good. Connecticut was 3 overtime losses from being undefeated. But their head coach is gone. Their quarterback's gone. Their offensive coordinator is going to call plays and take off to TCU. And so I don't believe the continuity in preparation for Connecticut. You wonder why a 6-6 Army is a 6.5, 7 point favorite because of that. And with their quarterback back, I don't think there's enough time for Connecticut to prepare for this football team. If you don't prepare for Army, whatever offense they've got left at Connecticut will not get on the field.
Yeah, it's going to be fun, I think, though, to watch those teams play because UConn really has had themselves a fun season, winning 9 games.
Great job.
Again, Hey, Houston, late December, you're playing LSU. Oh, my gosh. Get everybody extensions. This is the greatest season we've ever had. It's the Texas Bowl. And I don't know, because LSU, there are a lot of good vibes, of course, with the Lane Kiffin situation here,
Yes.
Coach Bowden. What are your thoughts on the Texas Bowl?
Okay, I'm sitting down here in not NOLA, but in NELA, Northeast Louisiana, not New Orleans, Louisiana. But I'm down here among the Cajuns and among Louisiana fans. They are excited about what? About next year. They're excited about Lane Kiffin next year. I'll be honest with you, I don't think they give a flip about this game. In fact, my wife is a LSU fan, and she didn't know they were playing tonight. That's unusual. I'm just saying I think they're already excited for their future, but their future doesn't include this season. So, and their quarterbacks opted out. A lot of their players opted out. All the linebackers, the Perkins and Weeks and those guys opted out. So I do not believe that LSU mentally is going to be there. And can you imagine what a win it would be for Houston to beat LSU? That's a huge recruiting area, just about 4 hours away or 3 hours away from them. Be a huge, and they are an outstanding team. Willie Fritz does a great job. So I'm going with Houston. I just think Houston has everything going for them. They're going to be pumped up. And I'm not sure if LSU, I'll be honest with you, they're excited about next year. I don't think that's going to transfer to this football game.
Yeah, I think it is totally fair. And I think it's going to be really interesting to watch these games play out. Coach, we really appreciate it. Best of luck and enjoy the rest of the holiday season.
I'll do it. Thank you, man. Take care, Kev.
Great stuff there, as always, from Coach Bowden. We're going to hit a break. We come on back. The NBA tonight, our best bets, and an injury yesterday, what it means moving forward. We'll talk about it here on SportsGrid.
Chicago Blackhawks of the National Hockey League are now official partners with Kalshi. It takes effect this week. Each side can use the other's intellectual property for co-marketing purposes, and Kalshi will be promoted during home games at the United Center and on Blackhawks broadcasts. First of its kind, certainly probably not the last as well.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
When did we become, so bitter that we can't accept another man's apology? We make mistakes all the time. And as a grown man, you have to say, I'm sorry every once in a while. And it's okay to say that. And the apology, I think, should be accepted. And in this case, I'm accepting it.
The Craig Carden Show, only on SportsGrid.
When you look at this NBA Cup, you have to think about the importance. As a coach, I find a lot of importance. This wasn't a gimmick win. The Knicks earned it the hard way. And it matters in April as Mike Brown continues to build that culture in New York. And now, in my opinion, the Knicks are legit contenders to win the NBA title.
Pro basketball today, only on SportsGrid.
Arvil Reese at 8%. I got to tell you right now, I have no idea who that is or if they're playing a Joe Bowman joke.
Yeah, that's going to be interesting.
Who is that?
Here, but I have no idea.
You even know?
But no idea. But don't you have to pick the Heisman winner, Donnie? Isn't that like the rule of thumb? If you're going to take a quarterback, is he not the best quarterback?
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Game time decisions. Just want to update everybody. Minnesota, New Mexico right now. We're under 4 minutes left here in the third quarter as the Golden Gophers are up 7-6 in this game. New Mexico had themselves 2 straight field goals to start this game. Not in consecutive drives, but the scoring started with 2 New Mexico field goals. Minnesota, though, responded with a touchdown before half. And look, this is an ugly game right now. It opened around New Mexico getting 3.5. It closed with Minnesota at -1.5. I actually opted for the money line here at -120. Wasn't all too pricey. I hope most Minnesota backers are sitting on money line right now. We wouldn't mind the New Mexico folks covering. Let everybody eat, right? Why not? Why not root that in? So I don't mind what I'm seeing right now, but you know, you'd love for New Mexico to be able to, or New Minnesota to be able to extend and maybe make this a little bit more comfortable here, if possible. As far as the NBA goes, though, some of the best games on this slate tonight are about to get going here. The Hawks and the Heat, it's a 3.5-point number in favor of Atlanta. Total 250 and a hook. I like Atlanta in this game, but I'm going to back Trae Young over 2.5 made threes. Can I give some insane Trae Young stats, by the way? So Trae Young, since he came back from injury, had himself a game where he made 7 of 9 threes, which is obviously fantastic. Trae Young this season, in the other 7 games that he has played, has made 6 threes on 38 attempts. That's 16%. Trae Young, at some point, is going to find consistency in his three-point shot. Now, he was out for a while so he's come back. He's gone 0 for 5, 7 of 9, 1 of 7. The consistency is going to be there. We're getting even money on Trae Young, who's going to shoot at least 7 threes, if not more, to make 3 in a game where the total's 250 and a half. I love that spot. I really like Con Knipple over 7.5 rebounds plus assists. Bounce back spot for this kid. He's not hitting 2 in a row. You do not see him really miss this in 3 straight unless you go to earlier in his, earlier this season. He is a true contender to win Rookie of the Year. And I say that with understanding how great Cooper's been. Cooper's been great. So is Con Knipple. Cooper's the rightful favorite. But you see the numbers on Con. If there's any slip up for flag, Knipple is going to be able to, catch that falling sword a little bit. And just something to keep your eyes on here. I like him over 7.5 rebounds plus assists. My best bet tonight's Tyrese Maxey over 39.5 points, rebounds, and assists. Bounce back spot for Tyrese here off the holiday break. I think it should be his healthiest game that he's played entering into probably in a little bit. And at 39.5, I feel good about it. Yarnell's on the basketball slate as well for a best bet. He's going to play Alex Sarr over his rebounds at 8.5 at better actually than even money, plus 105 as Washington is going up against the Wizards there. I'm interested in Sarr's minutes. Since coming back from injury, they've been playing him a little bit closer to the vest there, around 25. Prior to that, he was more of a 30-minute-a-night guy. Do we get that? Is there some hidden value then for Sarr's rebounds if he's all of a sudden playing 30 or so minutes? Something to keep your eyes on. And then you got Devin McEwen. Anytime touchdown for Chris here in the UTSA FIU game. I played UTSA at -6.5, so a little correlation there for Chris on his best bet with McEwen. It's just a game for me where both these defenses are missing a lot, no doubt. I think UTSA is just the better group. It's going to go back and forth here, but FIU is, to me, worse against the run and not as good of a rushing team based on what enters into this game. So I like my chances with UTSA. I mentioned an injury yesterday in the NBA that could really matter. And that's Anthony Davis, who went down in the second quarter against the Golden State Warriors, ended up playing just 11 minutes. And Anthony Davis getting traded off the Dallas Mavericks is something that we talked about as soon as Nico Harrison was fired. Anthony Davis was held out of that game, and the report said it was out of an abundance of caution. And then, as they gave us the update that he's going to miss a few games, Shams Charania came over the top and labeled him a significant trade target, and that they're going to be incredibly cautious with him. It shows an openness and a willingness to deal, I believe, for Dallas. They're aware of the situation. They're probably holding on to Anthony Davis until the deadline, get as many suitors as possible, let Cooper flag, get to play with a guy as good as AD, maybe make that development easier for as long as you can. But this is still just something to keep your eyes on at some point. And again, especially if OKC feels more vulnerable, at some point Anthony Davis going to a contending team is going to move a lot of things around. No doubt about it. We get more insight around the National Football League with Adam Kaplan next on SportsGrid.
Chicago Blackhawks of the National Hockey League are now official partners with Kalshi. It takes effect this week. Each side can use the other's intellectual property for co-marketing purposes, and Kalshi will be promoted during home games at the United Center and on Blackhawks broadcasts. First of its kind, certainly probably not the last as well.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
When did we become, so bitter that we can't accept another man's apology? We make mistakes all the time. And as a grown man, you have to say, I'm sorry every once in a while. And it's okay to say that. And the apology, I think, should be accepted. And in this case, I'm accepting it.
The Craig Carden Show, only on SportsGrid.
When you look at this NBA Cup, you have to think about the importance. As a coach, I find a lot of importance. This wasn't a gimmick win. The Knicks earned it the hard way. And it matters in April as Mike Brown continues to build that culture in New York. And now, in my opinion, the Knicks are legit contenders to win the NBA title.
Pro basketball today, only on SportsGrid.
Arvel Reese at 8%. I got to tell you right now, I have no idea who that is or if they're playing a Joe Coleman show.
Yeah, that's going to be interesting
Who is that?
here, but I have no idea.
Do you even know?
But no idea. But don't you have to pick the Heisman winner, Don? Isn't that like the rule of thumb if you're going to take a quarterback? Is he not the best quarterback?
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Game time decisions. We're live on SportsGrid. We're now joined by NFL insider Adam Kaplan. And Cap, we'll talk a little weekend certainly, but the Christmas slate, it gave us a lot to think about. Not a lot to enjoy, but a lot to think about. And I'll say this, I'm not surprised this is the conversation, but we are right now at the peak of, oh my gosh, Ben Johnson left, is in division, and now we're stuck with Dan Campbell. And some of that might be totally unfair, but that, Cap, is what we're hearing after Detroit's season ends, scoring 10 points in Minnesota, losers of 3 in a row, 4 of their last 5.
Listen, Dan Campbell is a fantastic coach. He missed on John Morton, the offensive coordinator. He reassigned him. Really, around halfway point to the season, that's not good. That's a bad evaluation of a coach. So he should have known what happened with the Jets. I mean, I told you guys this weeks ago that back in 2017, the players just did not buy in with John Morton, and he was relieved of his duties after a year. So it didn't work out. Campbell's not a bad play caller, but they missed Ben Johnson. That biggest free agent loss is Ben Johnson. There's no question about it. And look, they've had a number of injuries. And another thing they have to look at, someone from another team brought this up to me. Why do they always have these injuries on defense, particularly in the back end? Cornerback and safety. This is 3 years now that they've had this problem. How are you developing your players? Are you giving them enough rest? Do you practice them too hard? I know that sounds funny, but there's a belief around the league that probably happens. Let's go like this. Campbell's a phenomenal head coach. It's great.
You say
before they got there, though, where were they? Come on, man.
No doubt about it. No doubt about it, Cap. But this is the interesting thing. I would say most people, you'd probably fit this description, think Dan Campbell is definitely a better head coach than Nick Sirianni. There's no evidence to suggest that.
I didn't say that. Hey, don't put Nick. I didn't say that.
Well, how many phenomenal head coaches do we have then, Cap? Because do we have 12?
There may be 6 to 8 of them that are really high notch. Now, listen, when you look at Mike Tomlin, he hasn't won a playoff game since 16. Everyone thinks he's a top 5 coach.
I don't.
But he's kept his job.
Well, can I ask you this then, Cap? Because you know this though, when teams have really disappointing seasons, the eyes will get put on the quarterback or the coach. Do you think there's a world that Jared Goff is going to play for his spot next year? I think he's the quarterback next year. But do you think he's going to be playing for that spot next year?
No, but Kevin, I'm not making excuses for Dan Campbell. I just gave you some reasons that you need to look at further why they failed this season. But Kevin, it's like, let's be real. Are you going to be great every year? I mean, are we all of a sudden going to think that Andy Reid's not one of the top 2 head coaches in NFL history? He didn't have a good year. Okay, he didn't. Their offense in the last 2 seasons has regressed. Okay, they missed on some free agent moves, draft picks. There's a reason why these things happen. Every team has a down year. This is a down year for the Lions. And I had my issues with Brad Holmes, the GM, many years ago in terms of some of the decision making, but he's really good. I mean, he'd never even been a personnel director. He was the college director for the Rams. But they're a really good pairing. They just had a down year. By the way, I picked the Packers to win that division. I'm not going to be right about it, it looks like. Yeah. But I was not as high on others were on the Lions. And they were my breakout team 3 years ago. I just talked to a lot of people around the league when they look at that team, they go, what is going on with these injuries? Why does this keep happening? And they got to do a better job of evaluating why they fell off, though. That's the fair point to bring up.
You mentioned Andy Reid and Kansas City and, this nightmare season, and it comes to a close. The Travis Kelce stuff of it all is really interesting because, look, at some point, it's everybody's time. But when you have as much success as Kelce has had, you've said this, right? I've talked to you about Andy Reid, and you're like, listen, there's no way he goes out like this. Travis Kelce going out like this still also feels a little weird to me.
It doesn't to me. I told you when you asked me after the season ended last year, I said, he's not going to retire. He's not going to. He had a bad year. Last year, I'm talking, not this year. This year, he bounced back. This is look, you don't want to go out at. They're 6-10 right now. It's obviously not what anyone wanted. But you know what? You don't want to wait till it's too late till they kind of kick you out. Kelce had a good year. He showed he could still play. They're not in a rebuild. They're in a retooling. They have a lot of work to do. John Snyder, the general manager of the Seahawks, told me one time I was sitting in his office after the Legion of Boom was disbanded. And Snyder said to me, because I said, hey, I guess it's time to rebuild. He goes, no, we don't do that. We retool while we're trying to win. And I'm like, wow, that's really interesting. He goes, you just don't all of a sudden when you've won so much think you can't win again. Now, there's sometimes you have to look at it like the Eagles, your team, what Howie Roseman did when they got too old. He made some bold moves. He made the A.J. Brown trade. And 2 years later, after they fired Doug Peterson, they're in the Super Bowl. So I think we have to be careful. But the Chiefs, and Kevin, we'll get more into this maybe on Sunday or in a future show on PFT, but the Chiefs have a lot of work to do. Their roster's got major problems. The quarterback's coming back from a multi-ligament injury of ACL and LCL. He's got a long rehab ahead. They've got a long road ahead, though, to get this thing turned around.
One thing, Cap, and we won't get into it today, but you and I usually get to work the NFL draft together. Always a treat. Yeah. I want to know if you start to hear people talking about the Chiefs using a top 10 pick on Notre Dame's running back Jeremiah Love. If he's on the board, I'm just very curious.
That's early. I hear you. That's early for running back. You have to be. And we'll
but teams
know
are willing to
how
do it again all of a sudden, it seems like. It's not just Genty, but.
But I told you he was overdrafted, that Hampton was way more explosive. I know Genty's come on, and Chip Kelly got fired as his play caller. That does matter. But you got to be. Not only do you have to be 3 down back to be a first round pick, you have to be super special. Jahmyr Gibbs was that guy. They teamed him up with David Montgomery. We were talking to the Lions about that. They explained it to me. You got to think outside the box and think what this league is. You got to be versatile. You got to be a 3 down back, which Gibbs is. But we'll see. We'll see about Love. But the bottom line is, the Chiefs. Yes, running back is a problem. They have so many issues with their roster right now.
Yeah, and by the way, that's why I think it's really tricky because Gibbs that year went 12. Bijan went 8.
Special.
Special. But I think Jeremiah Love is viewed that way. But you'll find out. You'll talk to people as we get closer and closer to the draft time, no doubt.
Yep.
Dallas and Washington. Here's the thing with Dallas. They actually have the worst defense in football. Like all of the numbers bear it out. I don't know what this. I assume Eberflus is fired. I don't think that it's all on Eberflus though. Trevon Diggs doesn't seem happy. He's also not as good. Quinnen Williams got there, was really good for 3 games. He picked up an injury. Everyone's going to be excited about Dallas next year. You know this, Cap. But I don't know if this defense is a year away from being that much better.
Well, they have problems at corner. Trayvon Diggs, the strangeness of his injury, the concussion he suffered at home. I'd be very surprised if he's back next year. I mean, they owe him a lot of money. They're going to have to make it work somehow to bring him back. Like, they got to get on the same page. I'm glad you brought him up. They've struggled at corner. The pass rush, they have all these edge rushers. They try to replace Parsons with like a edge group by committee. It hasn't worked. And Jerry Jones overdid it with trying to stop the run. Teams want to defend the pass. They're not worried about stopping the run. Jerry has it backwards.
Yeah, that's Jerry,
telling you,
right?
I'm telling you, that's the way the league sees it. He's wrong.
No, I totally believe you. And I mean, he's on radio calls saying, I don't know why we didn't play Logan Wilson. It's like, Jerry, like, that's not the deciding factor.
What a terrible trade.
Kat, look, always great to talk to you. We will talk again, of course, on Sunday on Pro Football Today. Appreciate it as always.
Thank you.
All right, great stuff there from Adam Kaplan. We are going to give you all the live updates as Minnesota has just put a touchdown up on the board against New Mexico, as well as some insight from Mike Blewett right here on SportsGrid.
The Chicago Blackhawks of the National Hockey League are now official partners with Kalshi. It takes effect this week. Each side can use the other's intellectual property for co-marketing purposes, and Kalshi will be promoted during home games at the United Center and on Blackhawks broadcasts. First of its kind, certainly probably not the last as well.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
When did we become, so bitter that we can't accept another man's apology? We make mistakes all the time. And as a grown man, you have to say, I'm sorry every once in a while. And it's okay to say that. And the apology, I think, should be accepted. And in this case, I'm accepting it.
The Craig Carden Show, only on SportsGrid.
When you look at this NBA Cup, you have to think about the importance. As a coach, I find a lot of importance. This wasn't a gimmick win. The Knicks earned it the hard way, and it matters in April as Mike Brown continues to build that culture in New York, and now, in my opinion, the Knicks are legit contenders to win the NBA title.
Pro basketball today, only on SportsGrid.
Arvil Reese at 8%. I got to tell you right now, I have no idea who that is or if they're playing a Joe Bowman joke.
Yeah, that's going to be interesting
Who is that?
here, but I have no idea.
You need to know?
But no idea. But don't you have to pick the Heisman winner, Don? Isn't that like the rule of thumb if you're going to take a quarterback? Is he not the best quarterback?
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Game time decisions. Today, I believe it was today, Jamar Chase was asked about his goals for the rest of the season. He said, I think the biggest thing on the list is to score another touchdown. I'll be honest with you, folks. If Jamar Chase does not score this weekend, I'm going to end up with a Joe Lisi conspiracy hat on. I'm going to be honest with you. And I don't feel good about it. I don't feel good about it. I'm not excited about it. I know one man who could perhaps talk me off that ledge. It's none other than Mike Blewett. It's always great to get Mike Blewett here on SportsGrid Leads. Of course, our Sunday 1 o'clock in-game coverage. Mike, and you will be covering the Jamar Chase game. And I know people are going to say, Kev, there are more important games. Disagree. When a superstar wide receiver says, all I care about is finding the end zone, and we're a sports betting company, that feels like headline news, Mike.
It's that time of year. Merry Christmas. Happy holidays to everybody. I hope everybody had a prosperous and healthy holiday season, but we roll into Sunday and hoping to be more prosperous Saturday and Sunday. And it's the time of year where we have to focus on certain props. Contract bonuses need to be earned. Our end of the year NFL wagering bonuses need to be earned. So yeah, let's roll into it. Let's get down on Jamar Chase. Obviously that game has a huge total at 53.5. I think there's a real opportunity that one goes over. I think it was disconcerting 2 weeks ago when the Bengals just completely laid an egg. But I think they'll be a little bit more competitive. There's a huge malaise over that franchise right now. And I think the prevailing theory is that Zach Taylor will be back. I don't really trust the Bengals to do the right thing, but you have to wonder if Joe Burrow just needs something to shake it up. He's not going to be playing elsewhere next year, but you wonder if they need some new blood in their coaching staff in order to help the defense and certainly get Joe back on the right track mentally.
Yeah, I think the Burrow stuff is very interesting. At some point, Cincinnati moving on from one of the stars will feel Mike Troutian. For years, even the biggest Mike Trout fans were like, obviously they should trade him. They're a joke. Yeah. They can't get any of this right. And then they just brought in another Mike Troutian guy who was even better in Shohei. And it was the same thing. We're like, well, obviously just trade Ohtani.
Like,
he's going to leave.
It's impossible that there was somebody better, and then it actually happened.
Yeah.
Impossible.
And once again, the prevailing notion was, obviously trade that one. He's going to leave. And then he left for nothing. And Cincinnati with Chase and Burrow, and it's going to, like, we're going to be the crazy guys. Like, actually, I'm not sure this is all going to work out for you based on your own incompetence, which is what happened to the Angels. And then maybe Burrow in like 6 years will quarterback the Steelers. I don't know, or the Browns. I guess would be the more apt. Would be the more realistic comparison.
I'll take him. I'll take him. Hey, if Aaron wants to retire 5 years from now and hand it over to Joey B, I'm in.
Okay, so here's the thing, though. Again, sometimes Blewett knows where I'm going before I get there. I got a lot on my mind with the Pittsburgh Steelers, Mike. I'm gonna be honest with you.
Sure you do.
I got a lot on my mind.
You think it's a Tomlin spot? You think it's a Tomlin spot on Sunday where they dump the game?
Here's the problem. I can't. So everything in my brain can't shake him losing this game. But if he doesn't, it's going to be another step to confirming that this isn't the normal Steelers team I give you a hard time about. Because they were never supposed to even be competitive against Detroit based on the last half decade of Steeler football. And now when I look at, call it an open AFC, and the Steelers are 14-1 heading towards a home playoff game, we're like, yeah, but nobody has pedigree other than Josh Allen. Oh, wait a minute. There's the guy with more pedigree, right? And there's a better coach than Sean McDermott. Mike, I've been looking at Pittsburgh. Am I crazy? How high are the hopes right now?
So I think it's often a trope for people that cover the sport the way that you and I do to be like, man, what a wild year in the NFL. You hear that people say that every year.
Yeah.
And of course, there's wild outcomes because there's so much parity. You're going to get crazy outcomes. Like, how did the Browns beat the Packers? I don't know. The Packers played terribly in one half and they lost. And how does these other upsets happen along the way? But genuinely, this AFC this year, in all the years I'm covering it for SportsGrid and beyond, is the craziest one because of such an abrupt changeover. We're going to lose Mahomes and Lamar and Joe Burrow for the playoffs. Not even going to see them at all. And then you have really Denver and New England. Denver not coming out of nowhere. I had good expectations for Denver. I didn't know they'd be the 1 seed. I didn't think New England would be the 1 seed as they battle it out to the end. And then you have other teams like Jacksonville that are exceeding even high expectations for them. So I think it's a very curious year. I understand why you'd take a shot with the Steelers. I'd be really concerned if they had to play the Bills in that first round game based on the way that they played a few weeks ago. It becomes very much a matchup situation in the playoffs. So I'm glad Aaron Rodgers ripped everybody a new one because fans were frustrated. And after the Bills game, people aren't on the same page. He gets banged up and he's like, this is done. You guys are playing like jokers right now, like a franchise that will bow out in the first round again. So he lit a fire, and maybe the last fire he lights in his career, but I'd love to see it, them rip off a couple of games, especially getting a home game in round one.
I know, and I really think Mike knows this as well as anybody because I've given the Steelers such a hard time, but I know how this will sound. I've been right to, right? Like they have been the same team.
Yeah, of course.
That win against the Lions is just not, that's different. And Rodgers looks much better. And I'll say this, because I have the same fear of Mike. I haven't placed any bets on them yet. Like, oh, they play Buffalo, and that's the usual stuff. But assuming T.J. Watt can, Wolverine his punctured lung, T.J. Watt, get him in a playoff game where they have real life, and he'll make a moment or two. And the next thing you know, it's an AFC title game between Aaron Rodgers and Bo Nix. And I don't know, at that point, all bets are off. We're going to stick with Mike Blewett, talk some Saturday slate after the break right here on SportsGrid.
Chicago Blackhawks of the National Hockey League are now official partners with Kalshi. It takes effect this week. Each side can use the other's intellectual property for co-marketing purposes, and Kalshi will be promoted during home games at the United Center and on Blackhawks broadcasts. First of its kind, certainly probably not the last as well.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
When did we become, so bitter that we can't accept another man's apology? We make mistakes all the time. And as a grown man, you have to say, I'm sorry every once in a while. And it's okay to say that. And the apology, I think, should be accepted. And in this case, I'm accepting it.
The Craig Carden Show, only on SportsGrid.
When you look at this NBA Cup, you have to think about the importance. As a coach, I find a lot of importance. This wasn't a gimmick win. The Knicks earned it the hard way. And it matters in April as Mike Brown continues to build that culture in New York. And now, in my opinion, the Knicks are legit contenders to win the NBA title.
Pro basketball today, only on SportsGrid.
Arvel Reese at 8%. I got to tell you right now, I have no idea who that is or if they're playing a Joe Bowman joke.
Yeah, that's going to be interesting.
Who is that?
Here, but I have no idea.
Do you even know?
But no idea. But don't you have to pick the Heisman winner, Don? Isn't that like the rule of thumb? If you're going to take a quarterback, is he not the best quarterback?
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Back here on SportsGrid, and thankfully, really, because I was under fire during our commercial break for, not seeing the AFC clearly. Here's what I really am starting to notice. I've now flirted with 3 of 4 AFC North teams in the futures market. I might like to cut to the jib on this AFC North. What do you want me to say? If anything, I think Mike Blewett should appreciate that. Why not talk about the AFC North team then that we haven't discussed yet? Also, I just realized I've been talking about Mike about the AFC North this whole time. Well, I can't quit this North. The Baltimore Ravens against the Green Bay Packers. They're playing Malik Willis, and they're a full dog. Why? Lamar out again. This whole thing's been weird and messy. And I think the messiest bit of it all is if Lamar was in, yeah, Baltimore would be favorites. But I don't know how great people would feel about it. Last year's Ravens, with Lamar in Green Bay against Malik Willis, are laying a touchdown, if not more. This year, they would have been, I don't even know if they would have laid a field goal, and instead we're breaking down a Tyler Huntley game where, I don't know, the last time it felt like the Ravens were normal, Tyler Huntley was quarterbacking anyway because they beat the Chicago Bears 30-16. How do you feel about this weird one setting up on Saturday?
I mean, it is certainly a strange game. It's nothing like we expect to see, but Malik Willis played well against the Bears. I know it's a devastating loss for the Packers, but he played well. Announcers were complimenting he was playing. He's been in the system for a while now, and I think while what's unique about it is he definitely plays a different style than Jordan Love, he looked effective. And maybe he is another guy that has a second act somewhere and is proving that he can get it done, at least short term, for these Packers. You're right about the Ravens. It's all been very odd. It is not the first time that I think the Ravens have handled Lamar absences or questions around Lamar strangely. I think you can famously remember the contract negotiation where Lamar didn't have an agent. They held off paying him when it was clear it was the time to pay him. And then they held off for a really long time. In season, it started to get messy. Talking heads like us were discussed. What's up with Lamar? Why haven't they extended him yet? He's an MVP-worthy player. I think it was even before he had won the first MVP. So they have good ownership. They're a generally successful franchise. They've obviously won Super Bowls in the last 25 years. But it's safe to say it gets quirky around Lamar. Regarding tomorrow, I think the Packers bounce back from a really bad loss, and they earn themselves a better seeding if they can. So I think the Ravens at times have looked cooked. My questions about the Ravens that they've not really been able to answer this year are surrounding the line. The offensive line is not as dominant as it has been in years past, and it's led to Derrick Henry looking less than dominant. And we've also had situations with their defensive line. They lost Matt Abuike, and then they haven't really been great on defense. Yes, they have Kyle Hamilton and other standouts like Roquan Smith, but they don't feel like a dominant defense to me. Do you at any point?
Oh, no. It's been unacceptable. And look, I know sometimes people tell me I have a quick trigger with the firing of coaches and whatnot, but I don't think that description would fit with Harbaugh, who I think, it feels like one of two things is going to happen. Either Harbaugh's going to get fired or Lamar's going to request a trade. That feels like where we're headed in Baltimore. There was a big piece that came out of Baltimore this weekend, Mike, I'm sure you saw it, that said Lamar would not mind getting to Miami. And by the way, man, and we probably can't get into this in the depth it deserves with the amount of time left, and Mike and I will then just do this certainly during the offseason. Lamar wanting to go to Miami does speak to sometimes people worrying about immaturity. And maybe I'm off base, but the fact that he just wants to go back home as opposed to some other big franchise, like, that didn't read good to me, Mike. Maybe that's unfair.
No, I think that's fair to say. I think Miami has no direction. They are the team in the NFL with the longest playoff win drought somehow. And they haven't won a Super Bowl since 1972. So, yeah, it doesn't make any sense. Their coach might get fired. Lamar doesn't have a lot of people around him guiding him. He's just family. So sometimes those decisions can seem more emotional than strategic business-wise.
Mike Blewett, incredible as always. We're going to talk to Brady Cannon after the break on SportsGrid.
Chicago Blackhawks of the National Hockey League are now official partners with Kalshi. It takes effect this week. Each side can use the other's intellectual property for co-marketing purposes, and Kalshi will be promoted during home games at the United Center and on Blackhawks broadcasts. First of its kind, certainly probably not the last as well.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
When did we become, so bitter that we can't accept another man's apology? We make mistakes all the time. And as a grown man, you have to say, I'm sorry every once in a while. And it's okay to say that. And the apology, I think, should be accepted. And in this case, I'm accepting it.
The Craig Carden Show, only on SportsGrid.
When you look at this NBA Cup, you have to think about the importance. As a coach, I find a lot of importance. This wasn't a gimmick win. The Knicks earned it the hard way. And it matters in April as Mike Brown continues to build that culture in New York. And now, in my opinion, the Knicks are legit contenders to win the NBA title.
Pro basketball today, only on SportsGrid.
Arvil Reese at 8%. I got to tell you right now, I have no idea who that is or if they're playing a Joe Bowman joke.
Yeah, that's going to be interesting
Who is that?
here, but I have no idea.
You even know?
But no idea. But don't you have to pick the Heisman winner, Don? Isn't that like the rule of thumb if you're going to take a quarterback? Is he not the best quarterback?
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Live on SportsGrid, Game Time Decisions. Couple of quick updates here. Tied up 14 apiece in the Rate Bowl, Minnesota, New Mexico. Boys in the back trying to root in overtime to help their over. Minnesota scored a touchdown that looked like it was going to end the game because the New Mexico offense is dead. New Mexico properly returned the kick for a touchdown and got a 2-point conversion. This bowl season has been off to some start. And that is the nicest way you could possibly say that. Not many nice ways to describe yesterday's NFL slate. Unless you were a dog backer, let's bring in Brady Cannon. Always great to get his insight before a big NFL weekend. But I want to ask you, Brady, because we didn't get to talk before the Thursday slate. What did you do with this Thanksgiving slate where you're trying to set numbers, not just Christmas slate, where not only are you now trying to figure out backup quarterbacks. We had third stringers going for all these football teams.
Yeah, you know what? I'm kicking myself because I was on a show earlier in the week and I gave out, my lean or my thoughts, my best bet, what have you, for each of the 3 games. And I nailed all 3 of them. And how much money did I put on each one of them? None. I was so caught up in the holidays and family and everything going on. I watched the games and enjoyed them, and then I'm sitting there watching them unfold going, gosh darn it, I like the over in the first one. That's not hard to figure out. The Dallas defense and the Commanders defense, it got there. I felt the Vikings getting points was the right way to go. And Kevin, it's that time of year when teams are in must-win situations. And what do we say about teams that must win? They must not be that good. If they were good, they wouldn't be in that predicament, right? And I do believe the Detroit Lions are a good team. They were in a must-win situation, but they are not that good because they're so injured. And Minnesota, I think, people were betting Detroit, expecting that must-win to translate into a victory. And I just thought it was too many points with that defense so decimated by injury. It turns out they lost outright and their season's over. And then I thought, the stock could not be any lower on Kansas City with not only Mahomes out, but now Minshew out, and they go down to a third string quarterback. This was kind of their last hurrah to just show up and be respectable. And I thought 13 or 14 points was too many as well. And sure enough, that was the case. But so I had the games figured out. Hopefully we can roll into Saturday and Sunday with the same type of success. And I actually have some money down.
Yeah, I hope so for you as well. It was one of those slates where, like, I like betting on a holiday. I think it's a good time, and it was one of those things where I try to have too much of a good time. I played one side. It was Kansas City. We were like, how'd your day go? Don't want to talk about it. Please leave me alone, right? Like, it's just the NBA stuff was a little mad. It is, but we still have games to bet on. Thing is, we still got backups to bet on. We have double backups, of course. Green Bay, Baltimore. What looked like it could have been one of the most fun games of the season. Green Bay might need it. Baltimore might need it. Jordan Love, Lamar Jackson, Malik Willis, Tyler Huntley. What have you done with this number here between Green Bay and Baltimore in Lambeau?
Well, this is another must-win situation, Kevin. And again, if you must win, you must not be that good. And I think that, translates to Baltimore pretty accurately. I mean, how do you blow that game against the New England Patriots without Derrick Henry in the game when you have a lead? I think that probably really crushed this team's soul. And I don't know if they have anything left in the tank. Now you don't have Lamar either. I think the Packers win this one, and I'm going to probably go ahead and lay it. I haven't done it yet. I know some 3.5s are in the market now. It got up to as high as 4.5, and then when Jordan Love was, pretty much ruled as doubtful, and it looks like it will be Willis, that number came down again, which is fine with me. I think Willis is the better backup of the two. Obviously, Green Bay at home this time of the year is a great situation, and again, I think Baltimore's pretty much done.
Yeah, I don't disagree, but I also think this is one of these weird games, Brady, where if Lamar was in against Malik Willis, right, we'd maybe get Baltimore over 3.5, and I'd be like, you know what, this team's not right, let's fade him. It's a great saying I never heard before, right?
Yep.
But now that it's Tyler Huntley, you might get this inspired Baltimore group, and that's not a ringing endorsement of Lamar. It's just kind of where things are. And it's a very interesting spot. Brady, the first game, though, profiles is a really good one between the Chargers and the Texans. Houston needs it to keep any chance alive of catching Jacksonville. The Chargers really need it to give themselves a chance to win this division in Week 18. Light number here, fascinating spot.
Yeah, I think both of these teams have a great chance to make the playoffs. I thought the Chargers had maybe already clinched, but they could be on the
I think
brink.
they clinched, but they could still win that division. They might catch Denver.
Right. Okay, yep, gotcha. So I don't really consider this a true must-win situation for either team, and they're both pretty darn good teams. I think the problem with the Chargers is, again, injuries to that offensive line, and this is not the team you want to face with a banged up offensive line. Now, we could have said the same thing when the Texans faced the Raiders last week. And what did they do? They ran the ball like crazy and nearly won that game. I think that probably woke up the Texans a little bit, and now they're playing a real opponent. And I think they get back to business here. They've seen a little bit of the money in this contest come in on that side. I agree with it. The other situation that I really don't like, and you kind of allude to it, Kevin, is the Los Angeles Chargers go out on the road and take on the Dallas Cowboys and win in a very good game, tough place to play at Jerry's World. Now they come back home, face a defense like Houston with that beaten and battered offensive line. And oh, by the way, next week, like you talk about, you could have the division on the line against Denver. Certainly a big game, a division opponent, a rival, what have you. It feels like this one is a sandwich spot that they could slip on for a minute. And Jim Harbaugh continues to prove that he is very good and he finds ways to win no matter what. But I would rather be taking the points here with Houston.
So give me an idea, Brady, Sunday, what's really starting to stick out to you?
Let's see. What is, I think the Steelers is obviously interesting because, I think I'd grab the Browns right now, and we've seen the number come down. It was 4 and it's down to 3. I think I would still take the 3 because if the Baltimore Ravens lose, which I expect them to do, the game means nothing to the Steelers. Tomlin's already got his winning season. He's already once again had a non-losing season. They win the division if the Ravens lose on Saturday. So I'd take the points with the Browns. And, even if the game does mean something, I don't mind it too much. If it doesn't mean anything to Pittsburgh, obviously, I like it even better. The Saints is a road favorite. I mean, is that what I'm hearing? The Saints as a road favorite? That's hard to swallow. So, I'd probably look at the Titans there. Both of those teams are playing really well right now. I think the Colts are really interesting, Kevin. And we've seen this number come down. I've seen as low as 5.5. It started at 7. I think Rivers and company are going to show up. They got exposed on Monday night. Everybody was able to see how poor that defense played against San Francisco. But I think, and this is again another must-win team are the Colts. So kind of going against my theory here a little bit, could be a stay away. But I do believe if you're going to play it, and obviously you want the 6.5. I think those are still out there. You don't want to necessarily eat the bad number, which right now the low point is 5.5. But Jacksonville, I think coming off of the biggest win of their season at Denver, that was huge. And they played a great game. I thought they outcoached Sean Payton, outplayed the Broncos. That was maybe their finest game. Not only their biggest win, but maybe their most well-played game of the season. I think they could have a little bit of a slip here in this game. It's possible that they win, but not cover the spread.
Yeah, I really appreciate the insight. I think it's going to be more landmines than we're anticipating or maybe used to in the penultimate NFL Sunday, but things are getting messier quicker in this league. We know Week 18 is going to be chaos, right, Brady? But we got a lot of messiness out there this weekend as well, so we appreciate you helping us through some of it.
You bet, my friend. Happy Christmas, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. I mixed those up, but happy holidays to you and yours. And the other one I like is the Niners. I think they take care of business Sunday night.
Awesome. Great job from Brady as always. Joe Lisi on deck.
Chicago Blackhawks of the National Hockey League are now official partners with Kalshi. It takes effect this week. Each side can use the other's intellectual property for co-marketing purposes, and Kalshi will be promoted during home games at the United Center and on Blackhawks broadcasts. First of its kind, certainly probably not the last as well.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
When did we become, so bitter that we can't accept another man's apology? We make mistakes all the time. And as a grown man, you have to say, I'm sorry every once in a while. And it's okay to say that. And the apology, I think, should be accepted. And in this case, I'm accepting it.
The Craig Carden Show, only on SportsGrid.
When you look at this NBA Cup, you have to think about the importance. As a coach, I find a lot of importance. This wasn't a gimmick win. The Knicks earned it the hard way. And it matters in April as Mike Brown continues to build that culture in New York. And now, in my opinion, the Knicks are legit contenders to win the NBA title.
Pro basketball today, only on SportsGrid.
Arvil Reese at 8%. I got to tell you right now, I have no idea who that is or if they're playing a Joe Bowman show.
Yeah, that's going to be interesting
Who is that?
here, but I have no idea.
You even know?
But no idea. But don't you have to pick the Heisman winner, Don? Isn't that like the rule of thumb if you're going to take a quarterback? Is he not the best quarterback?
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Game time decisions right here on SportsGrid. And you know what? The guys in the back are great. And they actually, we did exchange Christmas gifts, but it turned out they had one more gift in store. Joe Lisi joins the show here on a Friday night. Joe, great to see you. What a Christmas it was. What a Saturday it's shaping up to be. How are you, my friend?
I'm doing well. We were on air yesterday, right? The days
Believe it or not.
They meld together. I was banged up yesterday. I wasn't feeling 100%. And watching those games yesterday after we got the over in the Dallas game, I hit Jake Ferguson for the anytime touchdown, and I thought it would be a big day. And I hit my best bet, which was the Vikings. But all the second and third game of the evening were absolutely atrocious. And hopefully we get better action in these bowl matchups. Hopefully tonight and tomorrow.
Well, hey, listen, you were 3-1 on NBA sides yesterday. So, maybe there's something there. Maybe there's something to it. We can't rule it out, Joe. That's all I'm saying. A lot big NBA card tonight. Don't be scared to give it a look. I'm just saying,
Is Clint Capella playing tonight? Is Capella? Is he in the lineup? Is Capella in the lineup?
He largely. I think he's on like the Rockets now. They played yesterday. Rockets, one of your better picks.
Well, I told you they'd smash the Lakers, so we'll see. Did LeBron ever get there? Did LeBron get there? By the way,
no, hooked. Bad beat.
Guys checked out. Doesn't care anymore.
All right. Yeah, reminds me of some other people. So what do you think? FIU UTSA, First Responders Bowl. You hot on this game?
I am. I actually am. When you look at both secondaries, they given up well over 240 passing yards per game. I do like FIU in regards to the quarterback matchup just a little, but I took the over 61.5. We're seeing the market up to 62.5. It's been traditionally unders in this bowl matchup, but I think Johnson and I think Owen could both ball out tonight. I took multiple passing touchdowns. Don't be shocked, Kev, if this game is eerily similar to the Cal-Hawaii matchup, which was one of the most highest scoring so far this bowl season.
Yeah, that game was a lot of fun. 21-0 Cal. We had Cal Mooney line, and then whatever that was, backup quarterback.
Mooney line? The Mooney line.
Had the Mooney line. You like that one?
I do, the Mooney line.
Yeah.
The Mooney line.
You can hold on to that. Go ahead.
Well, I just want to say Jenkins, I'm sorry I said Johnson, but Jenkins, his last game for FIU, the kid threw for 291. He's got very deflated numbers, and UTSA secondary has allowed 24 passing touchdowns in this matchup. So that's what I'm looking at. I think both quarterbacks will be able to push tempo in this matchup, but I do lean a lot to the over. And again, we're seeing some smart money come in from 61.5 to 62.5 right before kick.
So what about tomorrow? Big slate. First real big bowl slate of the season. It starts early, East Carolina, Pittsburgh. Are we going to get game of the month, game of the holiday season? What do we expect from Joe Lisi with the Pinstripe Bowl, Fenway Bowl?
Well, the East Carolina game is intriguing. They have had a ton of opt-outs, right? And the way Pittsburgh played at the end of the regular season, losing to Miami, I still give them the advantage. They have their quarterback. They have a majority of their skill weapons to lay 10.5 in that matchup. I'm not afraid to lay it going up against a depleted ECU team. But I think when you look at the other games, Clemson and Penn State, now you have Penn State that won 3 games down the stretch with an interim staff. They won those games by an average margin of victory of 16.3 points per game. On the flip side, Clemson wins the last 4 games of the regular season by 16.1 points per game, but Klubnik is going to play in this matchup. Dabo, Sweeney, and that staff have been there. Dabo has stepped up in the bowl type of scenario before, not just college football playoff appearances. They beat Kentucky. He's won bowl games that are under the radar. So I would lay it with Clemson right now. I think the game means a little bit more to Clemson than it does Penn State, and they have their quarterback. I'll roll with that, especially knowing that he had a very disappointing season.
Now, is there a total that you might happen to like tomorrow?
There is. The late night game, that total in Houston with the Houston Bowl for me. I know you say that, Kev, but think about this.
I just know.
But hear me out. LSU, I don't care who's on the field for LSU. I don't care.
It's a 41.5, 42-point number. They played in this game last year. It was a shootout with Baylor. Now, granted, that was a much different team. I get that. And Houston is the better team on paper, laying 2.5 points. They have Connor Wegman, but I still believe Van Buren, that offense, no matter who plays at the skill position, I think it's a fast track. I think we can get into the 50s. I'm willing to back it. The other team I like that's a dog, I like Georgia Tech. When we see Bachmeier going up against Haynes King, it's, to me, not even close at the quarterback position. To me, Haynes King has a significant advantage. I like Georgia Tech's weapons as well. I like Brent Key in this spot. I just think BYU is at a significant passing disadvantage in this game, and I think first team to 30 wins it. I do like the over in that matchup as well.
Well, I'll say this. The reason I laugh, okay, is no disrespect. It's because, Joe, we do on Fridays, we give out a couple of picks for the weekend usually.
No.
And no. I was just going to give out Houston LSU over and say there's no way Lisi's not on this, so I'll back him. And
all right, let's do it.
So I think I'll back you. But I see your reaction, and I think, you know what, Tiger Joe? And listen, let's not let that happen again, honestly, with what I'm seeing right there. All right? Lisi, you have time to stick around? You have time or no?
Yeah.
You gotta
What is that?
jet.
What do you mean don't make that happen again? What is that supposed to mean?
No. Don't worry about it. So here's what I'll get you a gift, all right? I gave you something. I'll give you another thing. We'll give you our team's full best college football picks and best NFL picks and get your reaction on the other side. Game Time Decisions.
The Chicago Blackhawks of the National Hockey League are now official partners with Kalshi. It takes effect this week. Each side can use the other's intellectual property for co-marketing purposes, and Kalshi will be promoted during home games at the United Center and on Blackhawks broadcasts. First of its kind, certainly probably not the last as well.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
When did we become, so bitter that we can't accept another man's apology? We make mistakes all the time. And as a grown man, you have to say, I'm sorry every once in a while. And it's okay to say that. And the apology, I think, should be accepted. And in this case, I'm accepting it.
The Craig Carden Show, only on SportsGrid.
When you look at this NBA Cup, you have to think about the importance. As a coach, I find a lot of importance. This wasn't a gimmick win. The Knicks earned it the hard way, and it matters in April as Mike Brown continues to build that culture in New York, and now, in my opinion, the Knicks are legit contenders to win the NBA title.
Pro basketball today, only on SportsGrid.
Arvil Reese at 8%. I got to tell you right now, I have no idea who that is or if they're playing a Joe Bowman joke.
Yeah, that's going to be interesting
Who is that?
here, but I have no idea.
Do you even know?
But no idea. But don't you have to pick the Heisman winner, Don? Isn't that like the rule of thumb if you're going to take a quarterback? Is he not the best quarterback?
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
Game Time Decisions, folks. I'm making you a promise. You've made a good decision. You have made a good decision. I am Kevin Walsh. I am with Joe Lisi. It is time for our picks party. But we were able to get an extra invite to Joe Lisi. Joe, best bets tonight. Yarnelli's live saw over the 8.5 bounds right after your heart. I played Maxey, 39.5 points, rebounds, and assists. Chris, you like the over in the UTSA game? He's on Devin McEwen, anytime touchdown. Do you like Chris's pick? Devin McEwen, anytime touchdown.
I put him in a parlay. I guess we're gonna have to ride. We're gonna have to ride it out. Come on, Kryptonite. Come on, Kryptonite.
All right.
Let's go. Devin
What are you going to do? 1 for 1. All right. Now we'll get to our GTD State University where, oh my gosh, rules were broken like you wouldn't believe. That's okay. 2 picks from the playoff. AJ likes Texas Tech. Mooney line. I like the over. Miami against Ohio State. I feel really good about that total. Sitting 42 right now. Maybe we'll get a better number when things come around. And then we have coined in the back the group project. Oh my gosh. Both Chris and Sam gave out the over in the Pop-Tarts Bowl.
All
55. Right. Lisi, your thoughts on the Pop-Tarts Bowl total?
Yeah, I'm just taking rushing props for everybody. Then that's right. Not even making my card. No passing props for Bachmeier or Haynes King, and I'm staying away from that game as far as possible. I love Kowski and I love Sam, but it's not so much we know Kowski with the college totals. I love him, but every time the college total props out, now maybe 26 is a little different. Okay, listen, when I get smashed, I go up to the podium. I say it. All right, I've been getting smashed. Okay, but that
maybe
game
26 is different.
Right. Maybe 26. This
maybe
game
he'll
has
turn
no
it around
shot.
next year. Now,
Right.
Now here's
this
what
game
I
has
actually
no shot to be on my card.
here's what I'm interested in now. You got me wondering. What does the Joe Lisi Game of the Year calendar usually look like? Are they all in December?
First of all, let me just say this. If you followed me for a long time, we like to entertain as well, right?
Yeah.
And we make a big shtick about the game of the century and and typically that happens during bowl season.
Right.
But we hit the game of the millennium. No, the millennium, the game of a lifetime. We hit the game we lost the game of.
You know what? Lisi's Game of the Years were like an advent calendar. There was one every day. You just got to pop it open. You get a chocolate and a total.
Well, good news. I'm giving my Game of the Year for 2025 over in the Sun Bowl 40, and we're going to be on air for doing an in-game live. Duke and Arizona State 49.5. Smells a little light to me.
Okay. Amazing. How about a Friday 5 as we look to the NFL this weekend? I like the over in Giants Raiders already. This game looks like it's going to have points aplenty. I think the total's way too low. Like, I know the offenses aren't great. I think Geno and Jackson Dart against 2 defenses that won't be trying are far more dangerous than the inverse. Chris loves the Texans. Loves the Texans tomorrow against the Chargers. Yarnelli is on Stephon Diggs receptions. This is getting on his card every week. AJ Bills Mooney line against the Eagles. That's interesting. We're gonna have to see what's going on there. That feels like a shot. Mystery man, Lisi, how do you feel? James Cook for 120 rush receiving. Mystery man special. Your thoughts on the pick?
No, I like it. I mean, James Cook, an integral part of the offense, and we know that he can run it for 100, catch it for 30 or 40. That's not out of the realm of possibility. And when Buffalo was winning games, especially big games, they're running the football with Josh Allen and James Cook. So it's a good look. I'll give you a pick for the weekend. For me, I would take over Tampa Bay, Miami. Knowing how Joe Burrow attack that defense over the top and knowing that Baker and that offense were contained against Carolina, I think it's points aplenty, guys.
Joe, any guess as who the mystery man is? Any guess?
Frankie?
No, but it was worth a shot. I'll tell you this. Frankie was once the mystery man, gave out one of the most outrageous picks I've ever seen. Shout out to him. Lisa, you're the best. We'll see you next time on Game Time. In Game.